Yeah, that Thor theme really do be slapping. This is my fucking theme when I jump in from when I get out from high school and jump into like Marvel 3 on PS3 just to learn Virgil loops, right? Because a lot of the songs I didn't have like a general like broad like taste for the Marvel OST, but like something's really like my, you know, like Thor theme really do be badass though. Alright, but anyway, welcome back, homies. We haven't done these in like a long time, and you know, was originally hesitant. Alright, so we are back with a movie review, right? We got a little bit of like a off tangent, right? I don't mind off tangents, but we gotta get back to like to the main focus for today's stream. Even though this is like Fight Club, I do want to take the time to review this, and we're going to try to keep the review as like as small as we can. But Loki season 2, where is like the channel point for it, right? I don't know if anybody could like hear like the children screaming on top of like the Thor theme from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but yeah, the screaming children channel point basically sums up my impressions for Loki season 3 in a nutshell. Yeah, this season is fucking good. Like, yeah, it really feels like we're going back into I still haven't watched. Oh man, yeah, then this is gonna be like a full like spoiler review. If you haven't watched it, for those that haven't watched it, right, because this review will contain like spoilers, right? I would suggest like, you know, either like mute the stream. I'll mute for a minute, I'll be back though. Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, exactly. Mute the stream or like, you know, leave the stream, because, you know, if you haven't seen Loki season 2, please go do ahead and like watch it, right? Because, you know, it will be like, I don't want to like spoil anybody, right? But yeah, just overall like impressions of like season 2. Yeah, it just really like takes me back to like season 1 when the first episodes of Loki were really like popping, right? Loki season 1 was really like some phenomenal shit, right? This is like to be fair, you know, when Disney started doing outside of like movies, right? When they were doing the alternatives to COVID, right? When they're doing the alternatives to like COVID, because, you know, COVID really fucked everything up. We had like a 2-month, or not 2 months, sorry, a 1-month government shutdown process. So a lot of like movies, a lot of like theaters, businesses really had to like be shut down because, you know, the COVID virus was still fucking new. We didn't have any vaccines or protection against like the matter. So we just had to be stuck in our homes, and whatever work we could do, we had to adapt and learn remotely. We all had to like wear KN95 masks, which we technically still do, but it was rough for a lot of like, you know, a lot of us that when COVID like started and is now like is now like beginning, is now like still continuing to this like day. And when Disney Plus made like the alternative for making a lot of like their Marvel projects into TV streamable only shows, we were like a little bit skeptical about the transition. But then when WandaVision came out, when Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out, when Loki season 1 came out, color us impressed that those like specific shows really popped off for Marvel and like Phase 4, right? It was like, oh wow, this is so cool, right? We get to see like, you know, almost like hour-long kind of like Netflix runtime episodes for like most of these like Marvel projects. And of course, granted, speaking of, Disney Plus is not like the first to do like sort of like this like Marvel TV show business, right? We had like the Marvel Netflix universe, right? With Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, the Punisher, right? The Defenders, you know? Netflix really tried with the Netflix really tried with the other like local street hero Marvel heroes, right? And they were definitely fucking good, right? They were a lot grittier, a lot more violent and gory than some of the name brand PG-13 esque Marvel movies that were coming out at the time. So yeah, it was fucking dope. And you know, like outside of like the first wave of Marvel Disney Plus shows, yeah, there was like some shows that were kind of like good. Moon Knight was okay. What If was alright. Well, Moon Knight was like personally good, but I don't know about like the other population's opinion because it may like differ. We also had oh, Miss Marvel. Yeah, Miss Marvel was questionable. I liked it because, you know, she's our local like brown hero from New Jersey, so have to definitely rep her. Story-wise, it was questionable, but still it was like a fun time. And like a lot of like the Phase 4, Phase 5 movies were kind of like meh, you know? Like it was very weird, right? And a lot of like Marvel fans kind of like felt like a Marvel fatigue. Because there's so many like Marvel movies coming out of like the woodwork, and that's not bad, but like just some like very obscure ones like Eternals, Shang-Chi, still continuing other movies like Thor, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, a lot of those movies. Some of them are like good, like the Spider-Man Far From Home, no, not Far From Home, sorry, No Way Home, right? Was really good. Shang-Chi was good because of like, you know, the culture behind it, right? But some movies were just really like, man, what the fuck, you know? Ant-Man was like, okay. I hated how they did my boy MODOK. But yeah, like some of like the Marvel like TV shows and movies were kind of like hit or miss because, you know, we're so like used to like the Marvel like end credits stigma, right? Like whole like movies are not like treated as movies rather than just like, you know, people go into like the movie theater and watch those movies, skip all of like the fluff of what make those movies specifically tick, and just watch the end credit scene because, you know, we were so used to like fucking Infinity Saga and like Thanos is coming, you know, Infinity War and Endgame, right? Were the biggest fucking highlights of the Marvel MCU. Right? And when we got word of like the multiversal theory and when we found out of our first major fucking villain of the series, Kang the Conqueror, right? Played by Jonathan Majors, we were definitely in for like a fun time. Right? Because, you know, this is Kang the Conqueror. He's like a fucking time traveling sit on this fucking chair dip face that is conquering multiverses, right? So it's like, wow, we got that bitch, even though like, you know, I do not know Kang the Conqueror to like a full extent. I'm not, the Khaiza's not a comic book head, right? I only know about just X-Men and Doctor Doom and Galactus. That's really it, right? So I don't know all these like Eternals junk or like Kang the Conqueror. Luckily, because of like the what was it? the Disney XD shows growing up at the time. So I know what Kang the Conqueror is, but like to those that like don't, it's like, man, this is gonna be a fun time explaining Kang the Conqueror to them, right? Excuse me. But still though, right? It still is like, man, where's the big major like threat? Right? Because, you know, that's like a lot of like the grievances for a lot of like Marvel fans. It's like, where's the big major threat after Thanos? Like, how can you top Thanos after what he did with the whole like Infinity War saga, right? So it will be very interesting when he like comes out and is like the big bad. But for now, there's all these like different like breadcrumbs that lead to like something, but doesn't lead to like anything concrete, right? And of course, right, now that like Disney has acquired 20th Century Fox and all of like the X-Men licensing, because they like branched out a few, well, like many moons ago, we're all like expecting that X-Men is going to be like coming back, or Fantastic Four is going to be coming back, right? There's a slated like Deadpool 3, right? That's going to have Deadpool and Wolverine teaming up against some like villains, and there's going to be the Fantastic Four film coming soon. So we have a lot of these like high hopes and expectations for these like future films, and not really so much for like the current projects, you know? But even then, like some of like these current projects, like the one we're reviewing about right now, which is like Loki season 2, is pretty goddamn awesome. Loki season 2 is practically just like season 1 but better. You know, I mean, of course, it's like it's season 2. It's like the Marvel's like Spider-Man 2 to Marvel's Spider-Man, right? Like God of War Ragnarok to God of War 2018 or 19, something like that. So it's definitely fucking good. It definitely feels like old school Marvel formula, right? You know, because like I said, a lot of fans have been going through like the Marvel fatigue, and like a lot of like Phase 4 or Phase 5 projects of the MCU are very questionable at best, right? They don't lead, well, it's not just like they don't lead to anywhere, but just very like peculiar plot slash narrative inconsistencies, right? Like Thor was really like, you know, a what the fuck kind of like movie, as well as like, you know, the biggest what the fuck movie is like Eternals. Fucking knockoff ass X-Men. There were like some others, right? Like, yeah, like She-Hulk was like a good concept, but like it wasn't like executed very well, right? So it's like a lot of these like Marvel projects are just kind of like flopping here and there, right? There's like no like interest, and we'll probably won't get like that interest of Marvel. Like we won't get the big all-time peak of like how Marvel was back in like 2018/2019 until the X-Men come around, until Doctor Doom comes around, right? But still, we can appreciate some of these like other Marvel like projects that are like, you know, coming out of like the woodwork. And of course, you know, Loki season 2, right? Definitely like a fun show, right? And pretty much kind of like the same like season 1. If you liked Loki season 1, then you're definitely going to enjoy season 2, right? It's just like a lot of like old school like Marvel formula again, right? Characters talking to each other, and they're very like poignant and, you know, very like thoughtful and provoking, right? That's like what make the Marvel movies like not like Phase 1, because Phase 1 was really like, you know, just your very whitewashed formula of like superhero movies, right? Back in like in the ye old 2000s. but they definitely like grew up, right? They definitely have a lot of like, you know, better improvement in character dialogue and interactions, right? Like Phase 2 was like a little bit better than Phase 1, right? Of course, the Avengers one really like skyrocketed Marvel a lot, and that's where they branched out to become the MCU of what we know like today. But Loki Season 2 really has a lot of like beats going that were superbly done well back in like Season 1, right? Just like dialed it up because, you know, the big bad Kang the Conqueror, or as in this series dubbed it as He Who Remains, right? Because, you know, a lot of like Kang really is like a lot of his variants, which was introduced in Loki Season 1. A lot of like variants, or like, you know, all these different versions of a said person can be branched out in different universes, hence like the multiverse saga, right? Or the multiverse theory, right? So you have a Kang in like one universe, you have a Kang in another universe, and the whole like premise of the multiverse saga is that all of like the Kang the Conquerors just like duked each other out, or were duking with each other out, as like a multiversal war, right? So yeah, it was very the premise of the multiverse war back in like Season 1, and now it's like the big bad is like the very enigmatic, very mysterious foe of Kang the Conqueror, or like his variants, right? But the characters were great. The story / pacing was really good. The character interactions were really like likable. So it was definitely like awesome. What more can I say before we go into like spoilers? No, let's just like go into like spoilers, right? And we'll try to like you know keep it concise and like short for the sake of like this review. Don't want to go in like a little bit too much, right? But yeah, like Loki Season 1 starts off immediately after Season 2 immediately starts off where Season 1 like left off. Loki, or like Loki's variant Sylvie, killing the He Who Remains variant of Kang the Conqueror, and all of like the different like branches start like duplicating, multiplying out of like the woodwork. And it's like Loki's job to like fix all those branches and restore the TVA like back to normal. So what happens in like a lot of like the first few episodes was like Loki has like this unconscious ability that happened to him when he was like sent flying back into like time, which is called time slipping, where he uncontrollably like goes into different periods of his lifetime, and warns people in the TVA in his own like life circle, not you know, from the movies like Thor, or like, you know, his family, right? Because, you know, for the most part after like Avengers Endgame, Loki's pretty much like dead, and the Loki that we know in these two seasons is a variant from Avengers 1 that was highlighted in Endgame, where he like got like the Tesseract, or Space Stone, and blipped himself, not blipped, but like ported his ass out, and the TVA like caught his ass and became like a TVA member. So a lot of like Loki is just trying to like control his like time slipping and get his like friends back, and warn him of like the Kang the Conqueror variant, He Who Remains. Tries to inform Mobius, the Hunter B-15, Casey, one of those like side characters, and we get an introduction of like, you know, a surprise character that really marked his like debut in one other movie, which I still haven't seen. Everything Everywhere at Once by Michelle Yeoh. Kevin Kwa? What was his name? Kevin Kwei? Not there. What's his name? K Kwai? Oh, there it is. Ki Hu Kwan, and he was Short Round in Indiana Jones. He was in The Goonies, and he recently like came back for movies in Everything Everywhere at Once, and of course Loki, right? So pretty much a lot of his like return to like stardom was from like this show and Everything and Everywhere at Once, and he was like a child actor, but now he's found like, you know, a lot of like happiness and joy from just like being back into like the acting career, which is good. And so we get like that actor in Loki as Ouroboros, or OB for short. He is like, you know, the main man, the main major apparatus of the TVA. He created the TVA handbook. He does all of like the mechanics and stuff like that, and is in charge of the temporal loom, which houses like the big like branches of the time, or like the sacred timeline, right? Which was like introduced in like season 1. The sacred timeline is like all the big like consistent time from beginning to end, right? And so Obi is like a really like charming character, right? Because I never like heard him talk at all. The only like vivid memories of him was again from like Indiana Jones Part 2, the Temple of Doom, and it was like, oh, okay, cool. I don't remember him as much. I remember him as like the little kid, but I didn't see him as much because I didn't know he like quit acting until he came back, right? Which is crazy. And of course, Owen Wilson as Mobius. I love Owen Wilson. Wow, right? I literally have like a channel point for him. Where's that channel point? Where's his bitch ass? Wow. Yeah, like I love that. I love that guy. He was like one of my, well, not one of my idols. He was one of my favorite actors like growing up. Cars, Shanghai Nights, a lot of like other raunchy like comedy movies. He's a good actor. He's a, well, good actor. He's a fun actor, you know, sort of thing. But yeah, like the Loki is a hella awesome as like a character himself. Like, yeah, he doesn't stay his like dickhead level, right? Because, you know, this is season 2, right? We're not gonna like reset him back into Loki from pre-Avengers 1, right? Pre-Avengers 1 Loki is like some dry piece of like white bread, right? Like just talk in a very vernacular accent. This is my bark and you merely quim. You know, like he acts like a fucking human, right? They definitely fucking took like the likeness from, they definitely took study analysis from like how Thor and Loki talked in Thor Ragnarok, and just like made Loki like that, right? Just interaction, dialogue, you know, just very like organic and not like stale, you know? But but Obi senses that like the temporal loom is like out of balance, or like it's close to like overloading because of like the actions of Sylvie killing like He Who Remains. Oh god. Killing He Who Remains, or the Loki variant, and just like throwing the sacred timeline out of balance. So Loki's on this like, you know, desperate struggle to save the timeline and reunite with his friends, right? Especially Sylvie. They get to do that in like episode 2, where like Loki reunites with Sylvie at a McDonald's. At a McDonald's, which is like, you know, a very cute thing that Marvel tried to do. Just insert McDonald's ad representation in there. Alright, gotta get like that advertisement money. But yeah, reunites with Sylvie. Tells her that the timeline is in danger, but Sylvie does like, she doesn't give a fuck. Right? She wants to be free from the TVA, and whatever like she does it at the behest of like, you know, the original Loki and Mobius's request, you know, even though she begrudgingly doesn't like it, right? Loki and Mobius realize that the key to, you know, fixing like the temporal loom is if we can get like a variant of, you know, the He Who Remains or Kang's like DNA signature and fix the temporal loom. Because they tried that once in episode 1, but it ultimately like failed. So they go on this like episodes like 3 and 4 on like this like wild goose chase for the variant of Kang the Conqueror known as Victor Timely, right? And he's like this like stuttering dude from the 1800s, right? So they tried to get him into like this job, but you know, he's scared. Of course, there are other like villains of this like season. Ravonna Renslayer, Miss Minutes or Tara Strong, this psychotic like AI that is the mascot of the TVA, but has adaptive AI intelligence that goes rogue. You know, sort of thing. So they try to like get Victor Timely to like, you know, come with them in order to like preserve like the timeline and have Victor do their bidding, but also Loki and his crew wants to get Victor Timely to like fix the temporal loom from destabilizing. Near like what was it? The end of the episodes, because like Loki season 2 is like 6 episodes, kind of like the first season, which is kind of like a bummer, right? A lot of these like, you know, very likable shows like Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, I don't know how long was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let me check. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. How many episodes did it have, right? More episodes. Yeah, it had like 6. It had 6 episodes, so, but shows like What If and WandaVision got like fucking 9 episodes apiece, right? Which is like a little bit unfair. A lot of the shows that have really like good, strong premises and like really like strong character development just get like the short end of the stick because, you know, other characters are like doing it like longer, you know? But luckily, right, the upcoming Daredevil TV show will have like the longest running Disney Plus episode listing, which is going to be like, from what I've heard, 18 episodes, right? Which is like, holy shit, 18 fucking episodes of Daredevil? Sign me up. Sign me the fuck up, you know? But anyway, right? We'll try to like go to like episodes 5 and 6 because that's like, you know, the most prominent ones. Or like episode 4, yeah, episode 4 is like where they get like Victor Timely into like the TVA and they fix the temporal loom, but ultimately like it fails because the energy signature of the temporal loom or the branch timelines is so strong that it disintegrates people. And so the rest of the crew gets like restarted back to like their points of like time, even though Loki has the innate ability of like time slipping. He like time slips through like other people's is times, right? Like Mobius was like a speedboat salesman. Sylvie, I mean, with her like timeline being a McDonald's employee. Hunter B15 like a pediatrician. Obi is like a science fiction author. So he's trying to get like the gang back together to like fix the TVA at like in a panic state. But the temporal loom is like so strong that it like any like branch that the sacred timeline branched out from, any branch that was made from like the sacred timeline has been made is like, you know, it disintegrates at like at a rapid pace. So like those like branches of like time are just like almost like extinct. And then we come to like episode 6, which is like, you know, the final episode, right? Where Loki tries to fix everything, you know, by himself because he mastered the ability of time slipping. One result was like, you know, getting the sacred timeline to be fixed with Victor Timely's DNA, but it didn't work. Another method was trying to prevent Sylvie from killing He Who Remains. That's what started this whole shit in the first place. But then he has like a talk with the He Who Remains variant, right? And the He Who Remains variant is telling Loki that, you know, the temporal loom is like a failsafe, that it was meant to like the branches were meant to like branch out like in the first place, creating like chaos. It was all part of like his plan to release like, I think like release his variants across like the known like multiverse. But Loki doesn't like fall for it. He's not gonna be like a pawn in his like puppeteering like hand. He's gonna try to like defy what He Who Remains like said. And so how he defies it is that he can't kill Sylvie. He tried every method he could to solve this, you know, through non-violent ways. So what he does is that he volunteers himself to be, you know, the sacred holder of the timeline. He is going to hold all of like the timeline's dying branches together. So he is actually the one that makes the TVA in retrospect. So the TVA like founded him and founded Loki, and he is the one who will hold the TVA like together, right, from splitting apart. So there's like this like funny tweet that someone said that like, you know, at the end of like Loki season 2, Loki is literally holding the MCU together sort of thing, right? Which is kind of true. It's kind of true that like Loki is holding the whole series in his own hands. Like he is just excuse me, he is like saving the MCU from like further collapse sort of thing. And then we get to see like the ending of like Loki season 2, which kind of like, you know, what we expect from like Marvel fans, like what is like the big like threat, you know? We get to see like, you know, some things, right? Most of them was just like happy endings, right? The TVA is saved. Mobius technically quits his job at the TVA and decides to like, you know, see what his life was like before he even joined up. Sylvie is free. B15 is free from, well, I think she like still works. Loki is holding everything like together. Ravonna Renslayer got teleported into an outdoor like space like in time and see something like ominous, like something like purple coming, which is like, I don't know. That looks a little bit weird. Might have to like listen on to like some lore podcasts on that. And the He Who Remains variant, I mean, it's very ambiguous and left for like open takes. But there is a Kang like somewhere out there elsewhere, right? Episode 1 done, episode 2 done, right? We like condensed that. Episode 3, some of like the more important things that like happened. Episode 3 was getting Victor Timely. Episode 4 was like the meltdown. Episode 5 was like Loki trying to get everybody back from all of these like different branches in time, the dying branches in time. And episode 6 was like the ultimate like end. So I think we like did everything. Okay, that's good. We kind of like condensed everything only to like the main important key parts, right? Of course, you know, we can't give like thankful salutation. We cannot go without thankful salutations, right? Like, the character dialogue was really good between Loki and Mobius. Loki and Mobius is just like a really good like pair, you know? Oh, I thought there was like hair in like my keyboard over here. Okay. But yeah, a lot of like the character dynamics in Loki season 2 seems to have like, you know, are better than like the first season, right? I just like, you know, it makes me like realize that like, you know, Loki as like, he's definitely like come a long way from just being, you know, the comic book version of Loki. Just this, yeah, I'm gonna be snotty and evil, fuck my brother. You know, like just this very regal sounding Skeletor from He-Man sounding bitch. To now he's like an actual fucking character, right? That, you know, yeah, like Loki can be like, you know, kind of like a goofball, right? He is technically kind of like a goofball in episodes like 1, but yo man, like Loki has definitely come a long way from just being like, you know, a petty spiteful Greek god, not Greek god, Norse god of a villain, to like now he's like a character. And like, yeah, like Loki goes through like these like different transformations, right? Which is kind of like a very like similar vibe to how like Thor went to, right? Both of them like lost their family, lost each other, and lost like their home. So what do they like have left, and how do we build on those like characters that have like lost everything? We give them like new character archetypes, right? Thor is like, you know, well, outside of like Thor 4, but like he's the jokey like serious but also very like Josh Bro like character. And Loki's the very like, you know, of course snide, he like deceives people, but also, you know, like he's very like hyperactive too, right? Loki can also be very like menacing if he really wanted. And in one episode, I think it was like in 2? I think it was in 2, where he just gives like this like sudden menacing like look, you know, to like one refugee hunter, right? Where he like, what was it? He like stands like, I don't know if I could like showcase it, right? But I don't know if I could like demonstrate it, but like he comes up to this dude, like he's like sitting here on this like chair, comes up like this, like he's fully like, he's got the drip pose, and like looks at him, and I have never seen a more I've not seen a more menacing like look for like a character other than like Loki, right? I mean, there are of course, you know, menacing figures in the MCU, right? But damn, this bitch just went up on his grill, did like, you know, what was it? The drip pose, like the like the fucking the meme of like Goku with the drip jacket on, and just like tell this bitch and just like cook him, right? Fucking very imitating, right? That's fucking awesome, you know? Like, Loki's a villain, right? He is a fucking Marvel villain, and he has villainous means, but we just haven't like seen him. And for Loki to like demonstrate that ability to like his fullest, what's a character unhinged and just provoked by? Like, just this bitch was ready to go ham and squish a motherfucker, you know? Like, damn, Loki was going in, you know? But yeah, like, Loki really like transformed as like a character, you know? And that's in a way like a good thing, you know? We have seen like character transformations in the MCU, right? Before, and some are like really handled well, and most of them are just not really that great, right? But yeah, like MCU's got really like a handle of just like taking like a character from a comic book and just make him have like a compelling like story or like transformation. Of course, you know, some characters are really handled better than most of like the MC of Marvel Comics like universe, right? So definitely goes to show that like some projects really do well under MCU than like some of these like other projects, right? Albeit, you know, granted, with saying that, right, we were just talking about Kang the Conqueror or like, you know, Jonathan Majors. That's another character that really shows like the range and like volume that Jonathan Majors has for Kang the Conqueror, right? Like, he's a really cool fucking character. Like, he has the like Kang the Conqueror, when he was depicted in Ant-Man, did a really like not good justice for the character, right? Because it was in an Ant-Man movie, and a lot of like the Ant-Man movies are either just like, you know, they don't have a lot of like seriousness, they're just like very diluted down. It's like the Ant-Man formula for their movies specifically. Like, of course, right? Third Ant-Man movie, Quantumania, right? How dare they pick on my boy MODOK like that, right? Granted, I don't know MODOK at all, like in the comic books, right? But this fucking big-headed, bald-faced looking bitch, right? Looking like the goddamn ass like Huggies commercials, right? How dare this Huggies looking fucking motherfucker from Ant-Man 1, Yellow Jacket, right? Darren Cross, this very idiotic motherfucker, right? How dare he ruin something so pure, so like noble from MODOK, the mechanized organism designed only for killing, right? He is like the leader of AIM, right? And we never see like AIM in the MCU at all. How dare they? This is like 2 times the MCU like fucking made some of like my favorite characters from like the Marvel vs. Capcom series like dirt poor, right? Taskmaster, right? I still can't forgive Black Widow, you know, of course, for being Black Widow, but also, how dare they fucking dilute Taskmaster to like, you know, it's part of Black Widow's story. She's Dreykov's daughter. She's like a fucking brainwashed like kind of Black Widow girl that dons the mantle Taskmaster, where we know like Taskmaster is a fucking dude, like a villain for hire that has the ability to copy abilities. Even Marvel's Spider-Man did Taskmaster justice, right? Better than the MCU, right? Because we gotta make MCU like, you know, a very pivotal like story element. We can't make him stupid. jeez, man. 2 times that the MCU happened to like two of like my favorite characters in a Marvel vs. Capcom, from a Marvel vs. Capcom game. That's how I know like my Marvel like history is from like a fucking video game. MODOK was really cool and fucking Taskmaster was really cool. But those characters in those movies were fucking ass. And of course, Kang the Conqueror is no exception, right? How dare, like, not how dare they, but it kind of just like didn't live up to like his full potential of Kang the Conqueror, right? So it was like, yo man, like Kang should be much more better than this, right? Instead he's just like, you know, just the way he was like written. And of course, like the actor Jonathan Majors, right? He is a good actor, but he definitely has some like beef, right? There were like a few times that like Jonathan Majors had like some questionable fucking life choices, and it made like his MCU career like technically kind of shaky, right? In 2 instances, Jonathan Majors beat up like his girlfriend, and he was charged with assault. Assault, man. What was it, right? Yeah, this was like in March 2023. New allegations of abuse and domestic violence on the actor on misdemeanor charges of strangulation, assault, and harassment in a reported domestic abuse with his dispute with his girlfriend. Like that's some like Ezra Miller shit where he like, you know, domestically abused like, you know, 2 girls at like a Hawaiian vacation. And of course, Ezra Miller is some like fucked up like character, right? Doing like satanic fucking rituals and shit like that. Right? But Disney was almost about to like, you know, retcon Jonathan Majors' ass until like his like acting roles in Loki season 2, right? Where we see like the range of this guy from like, you know, stuttering like scientist newcomer buffoon to like, you know, the most evilest conniving asshole he can be as He Who Remains, right? Like just shows like, you know, how much can a character can go for in like just a split personality. Well, not split personality, sorry, like in a dual role, right? But it's crazy, right? Yeah, but that was like in March 2023, right? And Marvel like at one point was about to like drop Jonathan Majors just so they can have like what was it? Doctor Doom as like a backup plan. Right? What was it? Where was it? Yeah, that was it. That was like November 1st, right? Marvel discussed pivoting to Doctor Doom to fix its Kang debacle. Right? But that was like later disproven, right? Because of like the fucking range, but like it still is kind of like a little bit iffy on for like Disney's part that like they still keep an actor with like kind of like a weird like, well not weird, but it was very fucked up, like with the charges that Jonathan Majors has been charged with, they still like keep his ass, right? Which is like a little bit like, ugh, you know? But I don't know, let's see, right? I mean, Kang the Conqueror so far hasn't really made much of like a big impact in like the MCU yet, right? We still haven't seen like his full potential. And Kang the Conqueror is supposed to be like the major like big bad of the multiversal saga, right? We are supposedly going to be getting like 2 major bads of the multiverse saga, and that's Kang the Conqueror and Doctor Doom. But we haven't seen anything of Doctor Doom yet, anything at all. So we just have to like grind our teeth and wait for the Fantastic Four movie to like come out, right? Which is, I think, like slated for Fantastic Four film series, right? Refuse. I'm trying to find the Fantastic Four, right? Fantastic Four distribution. Yeah, the Fantastic Four movie will like come out in 2025, right? That's like 2 years away. So we have like a lot to like chew through in the MCU, right? And like Phase 4, Phase 5, we're still like in like Phase 5, and we got like, well, Marvel's is already out, right? It premiered Red Carpet Day on like Loki like Season 2 finale. So what we have next is Deadpool 3, but Deadpool 3 is going to be coming July 24th now, instead of like May. Got like pushed up a date. And we got the Captain America movie, Brave New World, in 2025, right? So it's gonna be like a long time for us to see like Fantastic Four. I think like Fantastic Four is like Phase 3. And then we got like all of these like other TV shows that will be coming out in like in the woodwork. What If Season 2, Echo. I don't know if I'll like do a review on Echo because like it doesn't hold up much interest to me. Echo I hardly knew, and the only time I knew of Echo was like in the Hawkeye series. But we have Echo coming up. Agatha Darkhold Diaries, I don't know what the hell that is. Apparently, Agatha, what was it? Hargreaves is like a popular character from WandaVision because of like Catherine Newman's performance. Ironheart, which is like, you know, the Iron Man protege, that will be like TBA. And Daredevil Born Again, that's gonna be like all of like phase, that's gonna be all Phase 5 shit, right? And we still have a long way to go before Phase 6. We still have a long way to go before that, you know? And for Phase 6, we're gonna have like Fantastic Four coming in May 2nd of 2025. We have the Thunderbolts. We got the new slated date for the Blade movie, which is also in which is also in 2025. Then we have Avengers. I'm looking at it for my PC screen. And then we have the 2 big budget Avengers films, both by Kevin Feige, the Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. Right? So one's going to be 2026, the other's 2027. So it's like, yeah, man, we're going to have to wait a long time. And especially after, right, like the whole SAG-AFTRA strikes. From what I've heard, it's over, and now like they've come with like new deals to appease the writers and the actors, right, that were you know, striking the SAG-AFTRA, right? Of course, you know, SAG-AFTRA was, you know, campaigning for, you know, the implementations of AI usage in the film industry. And that's the reason why the SAG-AFTRA strikes took effect, is because, man, I don't want to be fucking using like using AI to help like my acting or like my storyboard choices, or more sinisterly, from what I've heard, the SAG-AFTRA would use like AI to use dead characters to like keep the story intact like forever, you know, right? Like they would use AI would use like a deceased actor's likeness to keep to maintain like a film role or some shit like that without the consent of like the family consent, without the family decision, or like, you know, something like that, which is very fucked up. So a lot of like movies were like put on, a lot of movies and TV shows were like put on hold because of the SAG-AFTRA strikes. But now that the SAG-AFTRA strikes are over, now a lot of TV shows and movies can just like go ham and just resume back to their planned projects. I know Mortal Kombat 2 has already gone back into production because the SAG-AFTRA strikes are over, so that's good. So eventually when Mortal Kombat 2 comes around, we'll definitely like review that one. And of course, you know, Deadpool 3 comes back into development. But for like Marvel movies, it's gonna take like a long time before we actually get to something like Avengers, Infinity War levels of like, you know, yo damn, Marvel is good, right? We'll wait until we get to see more confirmation of X-Men, right? We'll wait until we get to see more confirmation of Doctor Doom. I hope he looks good. I hope he plays good, sort of thing. But yeah, like, Loki, like, Season 2 is definitely, like, a fun ride. I think I stopped spoilers, like, a while ago. So, overall, like, Loki Season 1, it was, like, a, 9 out of 10. Loki Season 2 is also a 9 out of 10. It was just a very fun ride, right? I definitely dug it. A lot of, like, high stakes, a lot of, like, character development, a lot of, like, race to the clock. Definitely a lot of what made Loki Season 1 made us a tad better in Loki Season 2, right? So it was cool. I definitely dug it. If you haven't watched Loki Season 1 or 2, they're both available on Disney Plus. Only like 6 episodes per like season. So go ahead and like watch them. I definitely recommend them as like, you know, a Marvel like casual like fan, right? Maybe we'll get Loki as like a playable character in the mod community for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Imagine the fucking hype would that be?